How many deer have you killed in your hunting career? Do you remember the details of every one of them? Me either. In the last 23 years, I've taken a lot of deer, and over that much time, and after that many deer, the details of each hunt get a little fuzzy, which is why I decided to create these videos to share with you guys the stories behind each and every one of these deer that I've taken. And it's also why about 14 years ago, I started my own hunting album to share and relive the memories of each hunt with family and friends. Now, in each of these deer stories, I'm going to try to include every possible detail that I can possibly remember. And the goal with that is to help you guys maybe pick something out of each and every one of these stories that might help you put together your deer hunting puzzle this fall. Each story might include one story, or it might include two or three, depending on the details and the amount of information that I remember from each hunt. And if you guys want to create your own hunting album to share your memories and your hunts with family and friends, I'm going to link in the description below a couple of links for a couple different of my favorite hunting albums that are on the market today. So with all that said, guys, I hope you enjoy. Thanks for being here, and let's get into the story. Hey guys, welcome back to Whitetail Affinity. In today's video, I'm going to tell you two stories about two bucks that I killed. One being this 3-point that I killed on November 27th, 2008, Thanksgiving Day, and this other 4-point right here that I killed on October 1st, 2009. Now to start this off, I'm going to tell you about the Thanksgiving buck first, since that was the next deer that I killed in 2008. And this deer, we were sitting there on Thanksgiving, we'd just eaten dinner, and we were all sitting around the TV watching the football game. I believe the Lions were playing that day, as they usually do on Thanksgiving Day. So we were watching the game, and it started getting dark, and everybody was either watching the game or falling asleep, and I just couldn't help sit there and not be out in the woods. So I told my grandpa, I was at my grandpa's house, and I told my grandpa, I said, I'm going to go sit down in your box blind by the river, see what I can see. There might have been 2 hours left of daylight. It was getting pretty late at that time. So I got my stuff and headed down to the blind. I got in the blind, sitting there, nothing was happening. And right about 20 minutes before dark, 15, 20 minutes, it was almost dark, but there was snow, so I could see pretty good. This deer come walking out in front of me. I'll take you to the whiteboard in a minute and show you the setup, but this deer come walking in front of me all by himself. He got out. He was probably 80 yards across the river, and he come out in front of me, kept making his way to the east, come down, cross the river, and as soon as he stepped out onto the bank on the other side on my grandpa's property, I shot him, and he ran probably 40 yards and tipped over. So it's a really cool hunt. I'm really glad that I decided to go out that day. And this deer was, after we went and got the deer, my grandpa told me that this was like the 7th or 8th buck that was killed out of that blind that year. So it was a really good year for that blind. Between him and my uncles and me, you know, we killed quite a few deer out of that blind that year. So it was a really cool hunt. Thanksgiving Day buck, the only Thanksgiving Day buck that I've ever killed, Thanksgiving deer at all, actually, that I've ever killed on Thanksgiving. And it was a cool hunt. So I'll take you over here to the whiteboard and show you the setup and kind of what all happened and how it transpired. Okay guys, now here's the setup for my Thanksgiving buck. A lot of the deer that I've killed have come out of this blind, just like a lot of the first deer that I shot came out of my tree stand at my old house that we used to live at. But this is my grandpa's property. He owns this side of the river, and this side of, obviously private property. Didn't shoot anything off of that side, but a lot of the deer would come from that side and cross the river coming to us. So it actually was a great spot. It is still to this day a great spot. It's a very thick river bottom, really good bedding. A lot of the deer bed in this grass and up in this deadfall. You've got an oak ridge right here that dumps down to it. It's just a really good spot. There's cattails, thick deadfall, woods. You've got kind of everything all condensing into one spot here. The blind is right here. You have to forgive my artistry. I'm not the greatest artist in the world, but you get the idea. So we had a trail that came down. His house was up in here. We'd come down this ridge. There's a trail that drops down here. This is where we'd fish for suckers in the spring, steelhead, stuff like that, right up in here. But there's a trail that would come winding back here to the trail or to the blind, and that's how I would access this blind. Like I said, a lot of them would bed up in this deadfall. A lot of them bedded over here. This was a real thick swamp. Back up to it'd be the west of, well, that's something I didn't write. North is this way. So a lot of deer bedded up here to the west of these woods, as well as to the west of this deadfall. There was real thick stuff out here. There's a point that jutted out into the river, and a lot of deer would bed there as well. Back up over here, we had, or the neighbors have, food plots. Another part of this oak ridge winds up back here. So it all just kind of dumps down into this spot. So the gist of that story is really thick area, very good rutting spot, a lot of deer movement throughout the day, especially during the rut in the later parts of the season when a lot of pressure was around or is around. So back to this deer. So what he did, I was sitting there, and he come from these woods over here. He come out just to the inside of the woods where I could see him in there, but he wouldn't come out into this open grass. He dropped down like this, came over here, crossed the river, and as soon as he got right up in here, I was able to take a shot and kill the deer. And so again, it really spur of the moment hunt. I was successful because I got out there. So I guess that's one thing you could take away from this is you can't kill them sitting on the couch. So I'm glad I got up and went out and sat in the blind for the last couple hours of daylight. And I'm guessing this deer this was November 27th, so prime peak rut was over. He may have been searching for some does. I'm guessing maybe that's what he was doing, but probably more so he was probably coming out of bedding, going to cross the river and head up to this oak ridge and up to these food plots up to the south. And so yeah, that's something you can take away from it. Get down in these thicker areas. Like I said, this blind is a dynamite spot all day during the rut just because of how thick all this stuff is. I mean, this deadfall here, you can't even barely walk through it. I've tried. The deer have to climb over stuff, and it's just a tangled mess. These cattails here, I've never had any deer bedding in here, but they do travel through here a lot because it's nice thick cover, especially coming down off this ridge, going back to bedding over here. So again, hopefully you learned something from this. A little 3-point can teach us a lesson, and I hope you guys learned something from it. Let's get over to the other deer, and I'll tell you about that one. All right, guys, for this 4-point here, I killed this deer on October 1st, 2009. I was hunting at my grandpa's again, and this deer I killed up in the swamp. On his property, there was a lot of different terrain, and this deer was up on the east side of his property, just on the edge of a swamp. I was just inside the swamp edge, and they would come out of that swamp and they'd head up across the road and go up an oak flat, up a ridge to an oak flat to feed at night, as well as crop fields further beyond that. But I was sitting there in a ladder stand, and at the time, I don't really remember what the weather was. I know it was nice out. It was a sunny day. I don't remember how cold it was. I believe I had on camo pants, a camo coat, and I think a face mask. And I was sitting in this ladder stand overlooking the cedar and pine swamp, and about pretty early, probably 5:30 or so, roughly. It was a good hour and a half, 2 hours before dark. This deer, actually 2 bucks came through. One was bigger. I think it was a 6-point that was ahead of this guy. They came through to my right, and they kind of skirted out around me. They were about 30 yards away, but they were in some thick stuff. And I wanted to shoot the bigger one, obviously, but he got back into that thick stuff, and I wasn't going to be able to get a shot. This guy kind of cut a little bit closer to me, just on the edge of the thick stuff that other deer was behind. And this deer just kind of skirted along that edge, and he got out in front of me about 18, 20 yards. And I was already at full draw by the time he made it to a nice little opening. And I took the shot, and he went probably 40, 50 yards back into the swamp and died. And so pretty simple hunt, pretty easy to explain. Like I said, they were coming out of the swamp. That's really what they would do up there in that swamp. They'd come out of that swamp, go across the road, up to that oak flat. So it was a really good spot. I'll take you to the whiteboard here to show you the setup, but it was a really good spot. Killed a lot of deer out of that general area over the years between me and my grandpa, my uncles, some of my grandpa's friends. But cool buck, and I was lucky enough to take a shot. So let's go over here and I'll show you how it looked from the stand. Okay guys, here's the setup for my 4-point that I killed. Like I said, I was just off of a road. This is the road that led to my grandpa's property, or to his house. I drew these lines like this just to show you it's a road, but this is actually a dirt road. Big cedar pine swamp here, very thick, roughly 50, 60 yards in. It got real wet, real mossy, peat bog kind of stuff, very thick. We lost a few deer into that swamp over the years, unfortunately, just because of how thick it is and how nasty tangle mess in there. But the deer love it. The deer love to bed in there. It's a very safe place for them to go. So what they do, though, come across this road. Right here is an oak ridge, and this is a pretty nice, good-sized ridge. There's probably a 50 to 60 foot elevation difference from the road and the swamp level up to this oak flat up here. So they'd come up that oak ridge, go out into these oak flats, as well as the crop fields back over here to the south more. North is this way. So the deer would come across, go over here. There were some saddles in here as well. This ridge, I killed a lot of deer on that ridge too. So this whole general area right here is a perfect, just a really defined, well-defined terrain dump feature difference, however you want to say it, where the cedar pine swamp met this oak ridge, and the deer love to travel that. But anyway, I was sitting in my stand here. I walked down the road, come in like this to my stand, and these two bucks come out of the swamp from over here. They made their way up through like this, out in front of me. And like I said, there was some thick stuff right here that the one deer, the bigger buck, had went behind. And I don't know if he'd smelled me, saw me, didn't like something, I'm not sure. But he went behind that thick stuff. The 4-point that I shot came on this side of it, closer to me. And once he got in, like I said, about 18, 20 yards right in here somewhere, I shot him. He ran back into here 40, 50 yards, piled up. So it was a really cool hunt. Again, this was 2009, so I was 19 years old when I shot this deer. Still learning, still figuring stuff out, but still being successful. But I guess the key takeaways that you guys can get from this story, being that these thick swamps in general, no matter what style of swamp it is, it could be a cattail marsh swamp, cedar, pine, tamarack. There was quite a few tamaracks all through here as well. But those thick swampy areas hold a lot of deer, especially for bedding, and especially during when season progresses and the pressure gets put on from surrounding areas. Those swamps just hold the deer, draw the deer, even if there's not anything around it to offer as far as food or water. They generally pull deer to them because of how thick they are. And if you can couple that with something like this, like an oak ridge that leads up to crop fields, or a stand of oaks up here that's putting out acorns, this area right here is a dynamite spot to catch them coming out of that swamp from bedding and heading up there, as well as in the mornings. I've killed a lot of deer either on this ridge or just inside this swamp edge in the morning as they're coming back from the crop fields and the oak flats, coming back to the swamps. Especially if you can get around, like I said, some of these saddles that are in here, which is, if you don't know what a saddle is something like, if your ridge is going like this, it's a low spot in that ridge that dips down, and it kind of funnels deer. It's a low spot that they can drop into and walk down that ridge better. That's a saddle, and a lot of deer use these saddles. There's a couple saddles through here that were used quite often by deer, and so that's another thing to remember. Bucks also like to use those as funnels during the rut. They will also run up and down these ridges like this parallel to check to see what kind of does have been coming through, see if they can pick up some scent, follow it whatever way the does went. So again, all in all, just a really nice spot where different terrain features meet and the deer congregate around those edges. We should know that they're edge creatures. So the edge where this thick stuff meets these oaks, perfect spot, especially with an added ridge in there. Really good spot to set up. So I hope you guys learned something from that, and I hope you enjoyed that story. A couple last things about these two deer, guys. For this one, the Thanksgiving buck, I was using my 270, my Remington 710, 270 Winchester, 150 grain Federal Premium boat tail soft point bullets, and they did the job on him just like every other deer that I shot with those. As far as clothing and other equipment like that, I don't really remember. I was in a box blind, so it's got a heater. I don't think I was dressed in anything fancy. I think I probably had jeans on and a Carhartt maybe. No camo, nothing like that. Was in a box blind. No scent control at this time either. And but basically my gun and maybe a light. I don't really remember. It's another reason why I'm making these videos, because I'm trying to keep what I have and put it out there so that I can remember it myself. As far as this guy goes, I was using a PSE Firestorm. I think it was a Firestorm Light, 62-pound bow, and I don't remember what broadheads, I don't remember what arrows on this guy. I want to say that during this time was when Rage broadheads were becoming bigger, and I want to say I tried those, but I can't say for sure. But I know for sure I had a Firestorm Light, 62-pound bow, and camo pants, camo coat, and I think I had a face mask on. I remember, it seems like I remember looking through that face mask at these deer, but like I said, the details are getting kind of fuzzy. But I hope you guys enjoyed this story of these two deer. I really hope that it inspires you to start something like this, whether it's an album, whether it's some sort of recording of your hunts, just to relive these memories. And again, small bucks, they matter too, just like the giants. Another reason for these videos, because I want to celebrate these deer. They fed me and my family and gave me awesome memories to share with you guys that I can always remember and pass down to my kids. So small bucks and does that I'm sharing with you guys might be boring. Sorry if they are. Don't really care, because they mean something to me. So hope that inspires you guys to not start your post this fall with "he's not the biggest butt" or "doesn't score a lot," all those cliche things that people say nowadays to justify their kills. I hope you guys don't fall into that trap, and I hope that I'm inspiring you to not do that as well. So again, I hope you enjoyed these stories. Make sure you subscribe and stick around for the next ones coming up. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed that deer hunting story. I hope it inspires you to start your own hunting album so you can share all your hunting adventures with your family and friends. Make sure you get down in that description below, check out those albums, pick one up, get it started now so that your kids and grandkids can enjoy it. Make sure you like and subscribe for the next deer hunting stories that are coming. And as always, thank you guys for being here, and we'll see you all in the next video.